Okay, so today we are going to be doing our very first lab, and we are going to walk through this together, and a lot of these we will walk together at least for a little bit of it, but I really want you to get to know your NDG environment. So I have already logged in, so I am going to create a new reservation. Now, I have posted up your pod assignments. You will stick with that same pod for this entire semester for my class. You don't want to be switching because it's going to mess everyone up. So you're one designated pod for yourself. Okay. So I'm going to schedule lab for myself. I'm going to click on the Net 170 class, select Windows 10. And then I am going to, we'll save my pod is 116. Your pod is right. I assigned it. Check your assignment. Click on your pod. You will also arrow over, right, to find your pod. Okay. So for right now, I'm going to say mine is 116. All right. So I am going to give myself 42 minutes. This first one should take around that. And I will show you how you can always extend your lab as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and submit. Our reservation has been scheduled. I'm going to go ahead and enter the lab. So that's going to initialize your pod. Okay, so there's no content for this one. This is a custom pod that I created for you. Okay, so everything that you do in this pod, it will not revert back to a snapshot. So everything that you do will stay the same. So when you log back in it, say an hour, a day, 2 days, 5 days, however long, everything's just exactly how you left it. Whereas if you do pods in any of the other classes, they revert back to the snapshot and it's like you were never there, which is not the case for mine. It's like you're sitting in front of a Windows 10 system, which is really cool. Over here in the reservation, you can request more time. So if the time that you allotted is not enough, you can request more time. And then there's also going to be a pop-up that will show when you have like 15 minutes left. So it'll kind of give you a warning if you're not keeping track. When you are done, and you still have time remaining on your pod, please make sure that you end the reservation now. And that way you don't cause any issue, or you don't utilize any resources, I guess, for others who are trying to get their labs done. Okay, so we're going to click on our Windows 10, and this is going to be your desktop. Okay, this is not where you are going to be doing your labs. This is your host machine. Okay, so we are going to use VMware Workstation for the entirety of this class, and we will be creating virtual machines of Windows 10. So I've opened up VMware Workstation. On your desktop, you will also see the ISO folder, and I have Windows 10 ISO in there for you, which should be the equivalent of having, say, a Windows 10 DVD, a flash drive, etc. Okay. All right, so we are going to create a new virtual machine. Okay, so this is going to be your guest system. Now, I like to know exactly what I am signing up for. So I'm going to select custom. I want to make all the choices. I'm going to click next. All right, this is just the VMware compatibility. We're never going to change this, so this can stay the same. Okay, I'm going to select next. Now, we are going to install that operating system later. If we select it here, or here, 9 out of 10 times it will ask you for a license key, and we don't need a license key. We're not going to be using this virtual machine for longer than 60 days, so we're going to install the operating system later. All right, so next. All right, so here's where we pick our guest operating system for our guest virtual machine. So we are going to be using Microsoft Windows, and we are going to be using Windows 10 64-bit. Select next. All right, here's where you're going to name your virtual machine. You will have various tabs for your various virtual machines. This is essentially where you're naming it. You're not naming the actual computer itself. So We're just going to call this test Windows 10. All right. Next, we're going to leave this alone. We don't want to use BIOS. We don't need Secure Boot. Secure Boot basically prevents any malware from booting before the system has time to boot the operating system. We don't need to worry about that. We're completely isolated in here. All right. Processors 2 and 1 should be perfectly good. Click next. All right, I'm going to up this guy just a little bit, and we're going to select 4, just so it doesn't take a crazy amount of time. All right, so I have about 4 gigs there for my memory. Click next. Sorry, I'm looking at NAT and clicking. Yeah. All right, so for my network type, okay, you guys are already completely isolated in this environment. So it really doesn't matter a whole lot, but if you are going and creating a home lab at home, using NAT completely isolates your system from other machines in your environment. You can create your own IP address scheme, etc. That's what we use in my classroom, so I would definitely highly recommend it, but you can use whichever in your home environment, but for here, I would like you to use a NAT, and that will get you in the good habit of doing that if you are in my server class. All right, so NAT, network address translation, click next. All right, the IO controller types, we are going to leave that alone and not mess with it. NVMe is perfectly fine. We need to create a new virtual disk because we don't have an existing one. We're really never going to use this in our lab setting. 60 is perfectly good. Click next. So we have 60 gigs for our hard drive. We have 4 gigs for our memory. We're installing our operating system later and using NAT for our network adapter. Okay, so those are the big ones that you need to specify. All right, so this is just saying where your disk file is going to be stored. And let me show you where that is quickly. It's going to be in your documents. There's a folder named virtual machines, and that's where this is going to be stored. So if you ever do have issues with your VM, that's where it's stored. All right, next. Now, here is where we are going to add the ISO. We're going to select Customize and New CD DVD. We are going to select our ISO image. Remember, it's on our desktop. So we are going to browse to our desktop. All right, click on Windows 10 or Desktop, ISO folder, Windows 10. And open. Oops, I'm going to move this because my face is in the way. There we go. Alright, here's where we could also make any changes before we commit. Okay, looks good here. So we're going to hit close and finish. Now, here is the tricky part. Alright, so when I power on this virtual machine, I need to click in with my mouse into the black box that's going to appear, and then I'm going to press any key on the keyboard to signify that I want to boot to that ISO, okay? Which in this case is a disk. Alright, so I'm going to power on, I'm going to click inside with my mouse, click in, okay, you should see press any key to boot. So I press the keys on my keyboard and voila. Alright, so now Windows 10 is loading. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and pause it here, and then I will come back when we are on the next screen. Okay, so our language, English, time and currency, English, keyboard, US, select next. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and select install because we do not have an operating system that's currently on here, so there's nothing to repair. I'm going to hit install now. Okay, our setup is starting. All right, so here's where it's asking you for a product key. We're just going to select that we don't have one. All right, this is really, really important. Do not, under any circumstance, unless otherwise directed, select Windows 10 Home. You will have major issues, okay? Because the tools that we need are not a part of Windows 10 Home. If I ever have you join this system to a domain, you will have issues, okay? We are going to be using Windows 10 Pro in this class, okay? Once again, Windows 10 Pro and Pro only unless otherwise directed. Alright, we are going to accept the license terms. Select next. There's nothing to upgrade because this is a clean installation, so we're going to do custom, install Windows only. Our drive has not been formatted, so there's no other disks to delete. So we can go ahead and select next on that unallocated space. Alright, again, I'm going to pause right here. Okay, now with the magic of editing, it has finished the installation process and it is currently rebooting. Slowly but surely. Okay, so while we wait, this chapter is mainly just an introductory chapter, all about Microsoft. It's kind of like their sales pitch, in my opinion. I do recommend that you read it. It will be beneficial to you to read the chapters as you go through. There's not a whole, it's not like a chapter book. There's pictures, there are labs. I don't always do those labs, so if you want to play around in the MDG with those, absolutely go for it. Going to be very, very beneficial to you. You will see Windows out in, you will see Windows out in the workforce. 90% of places you utilize Microsoft. So becoming familiar with it, knowing the ins and outs, knowing the multiple ways to get to places, we get very, 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 very beneficial. Now, I'm hoping at some point in this class we can touch and work with Windows 11 a little bit, just so you guys can become familiar with it. I am aware that it's going end of life, but the companies that I have talked to that are part of our advisory council, not everyone has switched over to Windows 11 yet because they need to make sure that it's going to work with all of their software. It's not going to mess up their environment, so a lot of them are still in the testing phase, and making sure that once they do implement Windows 11 that it's going to be as seamless as possible. So that is why we are still teaching Windows 10, but again, I do want to get you that exposure to Windows 11. So I'm hoping that we can get through this quickly and hopefully have time to play around with that. Okay, it looks like I might have to pause this again. Okay, And if you'll notice, shortly I will have that notification that will come up saying that I have 15 minutes left. Or it might even come up at 10. Okay, I'll just pause it. Okay, there we go. So, about 2 minutes. In the process, it has restarted, got everything set up, right? And then this is the first screen that it will come to after it restarts and gets everything set up. All right, so United States, we are going to click yes. Oh, this is almost as exciting as watching paint dry. All right, US again for our keyboard layout. We are not going to add an additional keyboard. We don't need it. And this is so much better than those Cengage labs because we don't have to pick the US keyboard over the UK. We don't have internet, so we're going to select no internet. And I do not want you guys using your Microsoft accounts. Okay, continue with limited setup. Perfectly fine. Remember, we're in an isolated environment. Okay, so for this one, you can go ahead and put in your name. Okay. All right, your password is going to be password 01 with an exclamation mark. Now, I do this on all of my virtual machines because, for one, I'm not doing anything on there that, I mean, can't be, you know, out in public. There is nothing there. We're going to be moving back and forth between VMs, so this just makes everything super easy. I know it's not secure. It's not supposed to be secure. It's to benefit you guys in this course. So I highly recommend, actually, please use password 01 with a capital P. If you are having issues and you want me to look and see what's going on, if I don't have that password, which if you leave it at password 0, I can get in and I can help you. But if you have something else, I'm not going to be able to help you. So please use password 0. Okay, there's my soapbox. All right, confirm my password, password 01, exclamation mark. All right, for my, okay, so 15 more minutes. This little thing that I was talking about, I'm going to request more time. It gave me a half an hour. I put wit. Why? Because it's easy. And it's safe to do while we are recording, right? Okay. So I grew up in Wit. My pet's first name was Wit. Everybody was Wit. All right. No, no, no. I don't want Microsoft to have any of this. Even though we're offline, it doesn't matter. But still, no. Just no. Absolutely not. Cortana, just no. We're not friends. Okay. And voila. You have installed your very first virtual machine with Windows 10 on it. Alright, so while this is working, there's one thing that I want to show you how to do. It will be beneficial to you. If something ever happens to your virtual machine, the nice thing is we can take snapshots, which think of it like a picture, right? If you were to be able to take a picture and essentially freeze time, okay? And then there's this magic tool that say like in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 5 days, 20 days, however long, you could go back to that that picture like nothing ever happened. That's essentially what a snapshot is. So when this gets finished, we are going to take a snapshot, and that way if we ever come across any issues, we can revert back to that snapshot and not have to go through the installation process again. Now, you will be creating a new virtual machine, another virtual machine, because you guys are going to get, I need you to be able to do this well. And you are going to be asked to install Windows 10. So practice makes perfect, right? All right, so here we have our fresh install of Windows 10. So we are going to go ahead and snapshot it. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to snapshot, take a snapshot, and I am just going to name this guy fresh install and take a snapshot. Okay. Now it's going to save the status of our virtual machine. And let me just quickly, I'm going to show you how this works. Okay. Let me do new folder. Text document. Okay. Now, you don't need to do this, but I'm just going to show you how. So pretend like I made some mistakes or whatever. Okay. And I need to go to my snapshot. I'm going to go to my snapshot manager. I am going to select that fresh install and click yes. It's going to revert back to that fresh install. So I can close out of my snapshot manager. Come on. Slowly. Now remember, you are only going to be doing the labs that I give you in the virtual machines. You are not going to be doing them in your host, which is the Windows 10 system with the red desktop background. Okay. So while this is going, can I? Okay, I guess we'll wait. But again, you're going to be making these changes, going through these labs on your virtual machine. And only your virtual machine. Okay. If you do accidentally do them on your host, that's going to create a lot of issues for you. Okay. So any of the work that you've done is going to be gone. Okay. So just like this, the folder in that text file, gone. It's like it was never there. It never knows it was there. Okay. Now, if you were to make any big changes to your host, I would have to revert it back to a snapshot, which is essentially this, right? So none of your virtual machines will be there. None of your progress will be there. You will have to start from the very beginning, okay? Because that's what that snapshot is set to, is the very beginning, clean, fresh install with VMware Workstation and your Windows 10, okay? So make sure you are making and doing all of the labs on your virtual machine. All right, now before you go, there is an assignment to show that you created your Windows 10 startup, so go ahead and make sure you do that. When you are done, right click power off that virtual machine. Then you can close out of VMware Workstation and you can end your reservation now. Okay, so go ahead and submit your assignment. And that's all. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great week. Thanks.